How's it going? I hope everybody is having a wonderful day, a beautiful night. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe so you can be notified when I go live or upload a new video. And please like this video. Now, in our last video, Bible study video 1, if you haven't checked that one out, please check it out. And I'm going to be numbering these videos, and this is going to be video number 2, Bible study video number 2. Now, last week we discussed the Nephilim, the giants. We discussed the sin that was so great upon the earth that God wanted to destroy the earth with a flood. He instructed Noah to build the ark and how to divide the animals and exactly how to build this ark. So in this video, we are going to continue with chapter 7 of Genesis chapter 7. And I hope that you guys join us, for these Bible studies. I think I'm going to start going live though when I do it, because there's only so much that I can put, only so long I can make the videos. But if I go live, I can make the videos as long as I want to, and we can get more, in depth. But I just want to get through it so we can get to the book of Revelations, because I know a lot of people have trouble understanding the book of Revelations, and I want to break it down for you guys so you guys understand the things that are to come and the things that are taking place now, because it's very important. So let's go ahead and begin in Genesis chapter 7, verse 1. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. You shall take with you 7 each of every clean animal, a male and his female, 2 of each animal that are unclean, a male and his female. Also 7 each of birds of the air, male and female, to keep the species alive on the face of all the earth. For after 7 more days I will cause it to rain on the earth, 40 days and 40 nights. And I will destroy from the face of the earth all living things that I have made." And Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. So Noah, with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, went into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of clean animals, of animals that are unclean, of birds, and of everything that creeps on the earth. 2 by 2 they went into the ark of Noah, or they went into the ark to Noah, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, so this is February the 17th of the month, and on that day all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were open, and the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day, Noah and Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them entered the ark. They and every beast after its kind, all cattle after their kind, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, every bird of every sort. And they went into the ark to Noah, 2 by 2, of all flesh, in which is the breath of life. So those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. Now the flood was on the earth for 40 days. The water increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark moved about on the surface of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. Could you imagine mocking God and mocking Noah? Because they must have watched him as he was building this ark, and they were probably mocking him and saying, oh, look at you building this. And he probably spent a lot of money on it, and Noah probably was telling them, this is what's going to happen, and they just didn't believe it. And then at the beginning of the 40 days, they realized what was happening. And their hearts were probably feeling pretty heavy at the thought that they didn't listen. Okay. The waters prevailed 15 cubits upward, and the mountains were covered, and all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life. All that was on the dry land died. So, and then it goes on to say, so he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping things, and the birds of the air. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive. Now, it didn't say anything about the Nephilim or the fallen angels that were having these relations with the human women. It didn't say that they were also killed. It plainly says, all in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life. All that was on the dry land died. So, we don't know if these angels were created with this, the breath of the Lord. We do know that they are mortal beings, that they don't die. So, what happened to them? We're going to get into that. We're going to get into what happened to those angels that sided with Satan. We are going to discuss what happened to them later on. So just remember that. And the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. Then God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the water receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, and on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month, in the 10th month on the 1st day of the month. The tops of the mountains were seen. So it came to pass at the end of the 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. Then he sent out a raven which kept going to and fro until the waters had dried up from the earth. He also sent out from himself a dove to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot, and she returned into the ark to him, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her and drew her into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. Then the dove came to him in the evening, and behold, a freshly plucked olive Eve was in her mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. So he waited yet another 7 days, and sent out the dove, which did not return again to him any more. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and indeed the surface of the ground was dry. And in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dried. Then God spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds and cattle, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth, and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him, every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, and every whatever creeps on the earth, according to their families, went out of the ark. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took of every clean animal and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings to the Lord, or to the altar. And the Lord smelled a soothing aroma. Then the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sakes. Although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. So God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every beast of the earth, on every bird of the air, and all that move on the earth, and on all the fish of the sea. They are given into your hand. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. Surely for your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning. From the hand of every beast I will require it, and from the hand of man, from the hand of every man's brother, I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For in the image of God he made man. And as for you, be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply in it. Then God spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And as for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ark, every beast of the earth. Thus I establish my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you, for prenuptial generations, perpetual generations, sorry about that. I set my rainbow in the clouds, and it shall be for a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. So a lot of times we'll look up in the sky and we don't even know, after a rain, we don't understand why we see that rainbow, and it's to remind us of that covenant that he had with Noah, that he would never destroy us again. And I think he puts that rainbow up when there's times when he gets so frustrated that he himself even has to remember that covenant, because I'm sure that he gets so upset with the sin that he sees going on here, and he puts that rainbow up as a reminder that I promised that I would never do this again. And it shall be when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember, see, he will remember too. It says, and I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look on it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. So that rainbow's really something for him too. And God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. Now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was populated. Can you imagine? These three men and their wives were just, I can't even imagine. My words stumble. I can't imagine that they had this responsibility of having to refill the whole earth, repopulate the whole earth. Wow. And Noah began to be a farmer, and he planted a vineyard. Then he drank of the wine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. So Noah must have had a little bit too much to drink. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father. Saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it on their shoulders and went backwards and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. So, and I hate to say this, but there are a lot of people that speculate that when he went in there, that he did something inappropriate to his father. But I can't say either way, because I can imagine that back in the days of Noah, I'm sure that people, especially with Adam and Eve and this whole thing of realizing that their nakedness and they had to cover up, and maybe this was something sacred to them, that they felt like no one should see their nakedness, or that it was sacred. And for a child to see their father in that way. Maybe it was just like really like bad. Like it's the same way today. But I think there was something more to it back then, but it doesn't explain it really. I think if you read and study into the book of Enoch, you can read more about it. I do believe that I don't know. I don't really want to. I don't want to say that should be included in the Holy Bible, that book, unless I do more research on it. So I'm not gonna make a comment on that. But if you want to read more into the story about why this might have happened, or it's all in the book of Enoch, I believe. Okay, their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. So Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. See there? What he had done to him. I mean, when you look at somebody, you're not doing nothing but looking at them. This is why people assume that Ham must have really done something to his father. So when he awoke from his wine, he knew what his younger son had done to him. He said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants. He shall be to his brethren." And he said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant." And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. And this is the genealogy of the sons of Noah. Okay? And now, let's see. Because you guys know I'm not going to go through and read all these names. I might the last part so you guys know where we're at. Okay. So between chapter 10, all of chapter 10 goes in, and it tells you the genealogy of Noah and his sons and their sons, all the daughters. So if you want to take your time and go in and read Genesis chapter 10, you will find out who these people are. I think it's good to just read it, but for me to sit here and go through all these names, no. Because it's like, oh, no. Okay, now we're going to skip on to chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11. If you have your Bibles, please follow along. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar. And if I don't get these names right, this is just how I've always pronounced it. And they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we will be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. That means that he's saying anything that these people want to do, they're going to do one way or the other, because there's no stopping them. And the Lord said, indeed, the people are one, and they have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad, and there, over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. This is the genealogy of Shem. Okay, and so Shem, remember, he was Noah's son. And chapter 10, well, I'm going to go ahead and read it anyway. This is the genealogy of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. And he begat Arphaxad. Shem lived 500 years and begot sons and daughters. Arphaxad lived 35 years and begot Salah. After he begot Salah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Salah lived 30 years and begot Eber. After he begot Eber, Salah lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and begot Peleg. After he begot Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and begot sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. After he begot Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and begot sons and daughters. Reu lived 32 years and begot Serug. After he begot Serug, Reu lived 207 years and begot sons and daughters. Okay, do you see? This is like tongue twisting for me. Okay, and my brain is fried. Okay, but they put the genealogy in here because for God it's important, so that we know this. So I encourage you to read the rest of this. Okay, you could probably stop. I would say stop at 26. Okay, and then we're going to go on to the genealogy of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran begot Lot. Because see how this is important. These are important people in the Bible, so we kind of want to read this. And Haran died before his father Terah in his native land in Ur of the Chaldeans. Then Abram and Nahor took wives. The names of Abram's wife was Sarah, and the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Isaac. But Sarah was barren, and she had no children. And Terah took his son Abram and his grandson Lot, the son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarah, his son Abram's wife, and they went out with them from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. And they came to Haran and dwelt there. So the days of Terah were 205 years. Terah died in Haran. Now the Lord had said to Abram, "Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who will curse you. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." So Abram departed as the Lord had spoke to him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Then Abram took Sarai as his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people whom they had acquired in Haran. They departed to go to the land of Canaan. So they came to the land of Canaan. Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, and as far as Terebinth of Moreh, and the Canaanites were then in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your descendants I will give this land." And there he built an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. And he moved from there to the mountains east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. So Abram journeyed, going on still towards the south. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to dwell there, for the famine was severe in the land. And it came to pass when he was close to entering Egypt, that he said to Sarai his wife, "Indeed, I know that you are a woman of beautiful countenance. There it will happen when the Egyptians see you, that they will say, 'This is his wife,' and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Please say, 'You are my sister,' that it may be well with me for your sake, and that I may live because of you." So it was, when Abram came into Egypt, and the Egyptians saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. The princess of Pharaoh also saw her and commended her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. He treated Abram well for her sake. He had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male and female servants, female donkeys, and camels. But the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? I might have taken her as my wife. Now therefore, here is your wife. Take her and go your way." So Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. Then Abram went up from Egypt, and he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him to the south. Abram was very rich in livestock and silver and in gold, and he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar which he had made there at first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. Now the land was not able to support them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. So there must have been some kind of commotion between the servants, like the herdmen who were trying to take all this cattle and stuff with them. The Canaanites and the Perizzites then dwelt in the land. So Abram said to Lot, "Please let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then will go to the right, or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left." And Lot lifted his eyes and saw that the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you go toward Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent even as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, "Lift your eyes now and look from the place where you are, northward and southward, eastward and westward. For all the land which you see, I give to you and your descendants forever. And I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could number the dust of the earth, then your descendants also could be numbered. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you." Then Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, I hope I said that right, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to the Lord. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Lamir, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that they made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinbad, king of Shinab, king of Amah, Shemabur, king of Zeboim, and king of Bela, that is Zoar. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, and that is the Salt Sea. 12 years. They served Chedorlaomer in the, I hope I said that right, in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer, the kings that were with him, came and attacked the Rephaim and Ashtaroth. Okay. And it's has it to where you can pronounce it, but it's so hard to pronounce these words. Rephaim, Ashtaroth, Carnium, the Zuzim, and Ham. The Emim in Saveh, Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their mountain of Siri, as far as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. Then they turned back and came in Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and attacked all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwell in Hazon, Tamar, and the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Seboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, went out and joined together in the battle in the valley of Siddim against king of Elam, title king of nations, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of El-Asar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of asphalt pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled. Some fell there, and the remainder fled to the mountains. Then they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their provisions and went their way. They also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. Then one who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth tree of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and they were allies with Abram. Now when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his own house, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. He divided his forces against them by night, and he and his servants attacked them and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. So he bought back all the goods, and also bought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him at the valley of Saveh, that is the king's valley, after his return from the defeat of Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him. Now then Melchizedek, king of Salem, bought out bread and wine, and he was the priest of God Most High. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who was delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him a tithe of all. Now the king of Sodom said to Abram, give me the persons and take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have raised my hand to the Lord God Most High, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will take nothing from a thread to a sandal strap, and that I will not take anything that is yours, lest you say, I have made Abram rich. Except only what the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Anir, Ishkol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. Okay. I think I have time to read one more. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward. But Abram said, Lord God, what will you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus? Then Abram said, look, you have given me no offspring. Indeed, one born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, this one shall not be your heir, but one who will come from your own body shall be your heir. Then he brought him outside and said, look now towards heaven and count the stars, if you are able to number them. And he said to him, so shall your descendants be. And he believed in the Lord, and he accounted it to him for righteousness. Then he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of the Chaldeans, to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, how shall I know that I will inherit it? So he said to him, bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. Then he brought all these to him, and cut them in two, down the middle, and placed each piece opposite the other. But he did not cut the birds in two. And when the vultures came down on the carcasses, Abram drove them away. Now when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and behold, horror and great darkness fell upon him. Then he said to Abram, know certainly that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and they will afflict them 400 years. And also the nation whom they serve I will judge afterward. They will come out with great possessions. Now as for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried at a good old age. So when the Lord says you shall go to your fathers in peace, or you shall go sleep with your fathers, that means that it's almost time for you to pass away. Or that you're not going to see these things happen. You'll be sleeping with your fathers before these things happen. But in the 4th generation, they shall return here, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. And it has come to pass, when the sun went down and it was dark, that behold, there appeared a smoking oven and burning torch that passed between those pieces. On the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, to your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. The Kenites and the Kenizzites, the Kadmonites, the Hittites, and Perizzites, and Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, and Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Okay, so you see how I get tongue-tied with all these names, but we have to get through it somehow. So we are going to leave off at chapter 16, and on our next Bible study, we are going to start with chapter 16 in Genesis. And I want to try to finish up Genesis on the next one. So I'm thinking, and we still have a long way to go, so I don't know if I can. But we need to try to finish it up quick, because the more we can do in these Bible studies, the quicker we will get to the book of Genesis. And we are just at the beginning. So we are in chapter 16, and that's where we will leave off at when we go to video number 3. And again, if you haven't checked out video number 2, go check that out. Bible study number 1. You guys have a great night. God bless.